The purpose of this video is to describe what's called the Gravity Proof program. This is a fairly standardized, evidence-based program for improving gait, balance, functional mobility, and reducing falls in frail older adults. It's designed to be used with the Rehab Arch, which simply allows you to transition between each of the key exercises and activities quickly and efficiently. So the first activity with the Gravity Proof program is going to be doing some initial warm-up on a treadmill. So typically you're going to have the person walk at a comfortable pace to start with, and we're going to ramp that up just a little bit faster there for you. And this is just a warm-up period, trying to increase heart rate a little bit. I do have a heart rate monitor he'll be wearing on his forearm there that I like. It gets pretty accurate heart rate. Ideally, if we can get him into a training zone for his heart rate, that's great. Focusing on just good quality walking here. Tall, nice posture, long, smooth steps, and trying to land quietly with his feet while he's doing that. The key here is getting comfortable walking on a treadmill, ideally without holding on at all. So we do have a crossbar here if needed. If you have a traditional treadmill, it may have handrails you can use as well if needed. But again, the idea is not to hold on to the treadmill at all if possible. Once we feel like we've got a good warm-up here, typically 3 to 5 minutes of just slowly increasing the speed of the treadmill to comfort and getting the heart rate up, then we'll start to throw in what we call some speed intervals. So we want to do interval training to increase that neuromuscular firing and increase speed for hopefully translating to overground walking. So we're going to just go ahead and do typically 30-second to 1-minute intervals. So I'm going to ramp up the speed of the treadmill here. And the key here is, again, focusing on good, long steps, smooth steps, landing quietly while we do our interval. And then we'll just ramp it back down after our 30 seconds to a minute is up, get back to kind of our base pace. And the goal with each session of the Gravity Proof program is going to be to go ahead and increase that each session if possible. Once we've done our warm-up and our intervals, we're going to add then probably some dual task type of activities and or some head movements. So let's start with some head movements here. So Steve, try not to hold on. You're going to turn your head left and right while you're walking. We can increase the speed of those head movements as tolerated. We can look up and down. Again, trying to maintain good, even steps. Other things we can do, we can have cognitive dual tasking, such as counting backwards by threes from 100. We can do things like carrying a tray with a tennis ball balanced on that tray so that he has to do some manual types of dual tasking, or even combining cognitive and manual dual tasking. So that's going to be your first 7 to 10 minutes of your Gravity Proof program, is this warm-up process on the treadmill, doing these gait warm-up with intervals and some dual tasking types of activities. We want to spend some time doing some backward walking. There's some body of evidence showing that backward or multi-directional walking can be important for improving gait and balance. So we're going to spend some time walking backwards. The key here is taking as large a step as they can backwards. They can hold on if needed, but ideally you don't want them having to hold on. So really lifting the foot and taking a large step backwards. The next thing you're going to want to do after you do 1 to 2 minutes of backwards walking is we're going to do some sidestepping. So if they can turn while the treadmill's going like that, that's a great activity. If not, you can pause between it. So doing some sidestepping, but trying to take as large a steps as possible as you do your sidestepping. And again, 30 seconds, 1 minute, maybe sometimes 2 minutes when you're doing that activity. So activities and our gait activities, we're going to start working on some additional balance activities. First thing we're going to do is just working on static alignment, good posture under different sensory conditions or challenges. So Steve, I just want you to stand there with good alignment. Your eyes are open right now, feet fairly close together like that, which is great. And I just want you to go ahead and start turning your head side to side. Just your head. There you go. Good. Look up and down. Great. So we're doing some head movements here with eyes open, just seeing if that's a challenge or not. Since that's not too challenging, let's go ahead and have you close your eyes. Keep your balance there. That looks pretty easy. So let's now do some more head movements with your eyes closed. Good. And again, that's fairly easy for you, seems like. So now I want you to go ahead and place your feet in a tandem position. So one foot directly in front of the other, like that, or maybe halfway off each other, like that is fine. And let's go ahead and have you stand and close your eyes. And let's see if you can keep your balance in that position. The goal here is to see them lose their balance occasionally. So you want to challenge it so where they're occasionally failing. Now let's have you go ahead and turn your head slowly side to side while you're in that tandem position. So this looks like a little bit more of a challenge. Haven't quite failed yet. That looks like a good challenge. So good. So that's given him some of that challenge we're looking for. So that's on a firm surface. And then we can quickly do something similar on a foam surface. So we're going to go ahead and place the foam. We're going to take up the slack on the harness there a little bit. And what we do then on the foam surface is go through that same process. We're going to spend, again, several minutes spending some time focusing on either head movements, eyes open, eyes closed, and different combinations of foot position, again, just to simulate and get that challenge level. We're looking for some failure during the activity and be turning in circles. This is going to be preparing him for sit-to-stand transfers, pivoting to get in and out of bed. So Steve, before you start there, go ahead and turn back around. What I like to do is at least do a minimum of 3 turns in each direction, and oftentimes we'll time that. So we can time either the time it takes to do the 3 turns in one direction or the total time it takes to do all 6 turns, both left and right directions. And that way we just have a marking point to know if they're getting better at that. The goal is to do this faster and faster. So we're going to go ahead and do 3 turns to your right to start with. Nice. Now you're going to go back to your left. Oh, I think that was 4.
3.
There you go. Good. Lunges is a really great exercise for dynamic strength and mobility, and working on some plyometrics. So first of all, we're going to do is we're going to loosen up the harness just a little bit here. So this is just floating over the head with a little bit of slack in it. So Steve, you're going to step back just a little bit for me to start with this, and hands on your hips here, and you're going to do some lunges, and you're going to land on your, let's do with your left leg first. Left leg first, land and load on that leg. Good. You can go your right. We can do either alternating lunges, or we can do one leg at a time and do our 10 to 12 reps on that one leg, and then switch legs. Doesn't really matter. So we'll do lunging like that. Great. Let's go ahead and now have you step forward for me a little bit. Now we're going to lunge backwards. So you're going to lunge back and land on that leg and load that back leg. You want to land on that leg and load on it. There you go. Good. Accept some weight on it. Perfect. Good. Land on it. Good. And then we're going to turn sideways, and we're going to do some side lunges. So let's go to your left side, land on it, and load. Good. Same thing here. So right now we have the harness set in its static mode, so it will restrict movement at a certain point. We can use the bungees to make it more dynamic, so it'll actually give you some assistance in the lunge and allow you to go a little bit lower in the lunge if you want to. So that is another option, using the bungees. It's great for working on power development, and plyometrics would be jumping. So, if this program has been done twice a week, so one day a week you may be doing the lunges, and then the second day of the week, if the person can tolerate it, is doing some small jumps. Typically, we're going to set this up in a dynamic mode where the bungees are providing some dampening or assist with the jumping. You can add or subtract the number of bungees based on how much assistance the person needs or how much dampening they need. But you can start with just doing some basic jumping, just in place, and try and encourage, see how much lift off they can get with that. As they get a little more advanced, you can have them some jumping over obstacles, such as just this small piece of PVC, forward and back. Good. And then we could even go side to side. Go ahead and stand on one side of that, and then jump to the other side. Good. Little side-to-side jumps. Anticipatory type of control, the lunges, the jumps, the turning in circles, which are driven by the individual. We also then want to start working on some reactive control. So those are another critical element to balance, is the reactive or perturbation training. So for that purpose, we're going to be using our slip trainer in combination with the Rehab Arch. So the slip trainer is going to be for allowing us to displace the center of gravity here, and his feet in unanticipated ways. So typically, you're going to, again, adapt to the person's abilities, starting with just simple, small movements where you're just trying to get some ankle reactions. Maybe then getting to some hip strategies where you're doing a little bigger movements where you have to use the hips. And eventually we're going to tell them, hey, we're going to destabilize you enough that you're going to have to take a reactive step. So you're going to have to take a step to catch yourself. I may even give them some information about which way I'm going to perturb them, so they know which way to take the step initially, and then be more random in the future. So it's truly a random displacement or reaction that we're trying to get to occur. So I'm going to go ahead and push you backwards, which means you're going to take a step forward. Okay, I want you to take just a good step to keep yourself from falling. You ready? Good. and back to the middle. I'm going to bring you back to the center here. And then this time I'm going to pull you this way, which will be similar to a slip, and you're going to take a large step backwards. Okay, so you ready? Good. Nice job. And then we can get more random with that, so he's not sure which way I'm going to do it here this time. Good. Take a step backwards. Now turn sideways. Then we'll also do some side reactions. Bring your feet together for me, close together. Good. I'm going to destabilize you in a certain direction here. I'm going to push it away from me, so I'm going to push towards your right. So you ready? Good. And you just take a step to catch yourself and bring it back to the middle. So this would be the progression that you can do. You're going to spend several minutes here getting maybe 20, 30 slips or trips in different directions on the slip train. Have a slip trainer, or alternatively, during your training sessions, maybe one day a week you use a slip trainer, another day a week you can do what we call lean and release to get those reactive stepping responses. So Steve, we've loosened up the harness here and the spreader bar, so we have a little float here. I'm gonna have you step back just a little bit for me, and feet together, good, about shoulder width apart actually, and I'm gonna go ahead and place my hands on your shoulders. You're gonna lean into me, just lean at your ankles, lean, 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 and I'm gonna let you go and catch yourself, okay? So that's that training, that reactive step and that lean and release. And then we're gonna go ahead and turn around and then step forward just a little bit for me, good. You're gonna lean back on your heels, lean back, whoop. Come on, and then catch yourself, good. Or let the harness catch you a little bit if needed. Let's do that one more time. Take a big step backwards, lean, 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 catch yourself, good, nice job. Then we can do that also sideways, so go ahead and stand in the middle. Put your feet together for me, good. I'm gonna place some resistance against your hip here. You're gonna lean into my hand here. Lean, nope, you're gonna lean this way. Lean to your left, lean, 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 lean over, good. And then I'm gonna let you go and catch yourself. Exercises in the program. So the first functional exercise is really important, is a sit to stand type of motion. So we're going to be performing sit to stand activities. We can adjust this in various ways, making it easier or more difficult, more challenging. So the easiest is going to be having the person with some upper extremity support. We have them sitting on a chair that is adjusted. This is a shower chair that has nice adjustability, so it's actually set up at its highest level right now, which is about 22 inches. And then we've also got our two anchors here. So these are our added anchor systems that can provide resistance or assistance. In this case, they're providing assistance. Right now, these are set, so there's each of these is providing 25 pounds of assist, so about 50 pounds of help during the sit to stand process. And he's also got our mobility seat harness or activity harness around his lower body here that's going to provide some assist. So go ahead and do your sit stand. We want good posture. Keep your head up as you're doing this, and you sit back down, and then we're going to come on up. Good. So if a person needs a little assistance initially to get through those 8 to 10 reps effectively, we can use that. We can have them not use their hands as they get better with that. And then eventually we take these away, so then we can go ahead and unclip here. Take the assistance away. And now just going to be doing it without any assistance. Good. And then we can lower the chair, the bench or the seat height as well. And then another thing we can do is add resistance using the anchor systems, which we'll show you next. Once the client has progressed or they're able to do resisted sit to stands, what we've done here now is we've taken our anchor resistance systems and placed them down low here on these back legs here, and you can see the rope is angling up, and we have it now attached to the top piece of our unloading harness. And so now we're pulling down on each side of the harness there, pulling him back and down, kind of angled. So we will let him use the upper extremity piece here to hold on to, but your goal is to go ahead and stand up against that resistance and back down. Again, since this program is a 2-day-a-week program, one day of the week I'll likely focus on more pure strength, so making this as heavy as possible and having them really do some good resistance with that exercise. And then one of the days of the week we may go a little lighter, but really focus on speed. So let's go as fast as you can, and that's going to be working more on power. Good. So the next functional exercise activity is going to be some form of a step up. This is an adjustable step here. Right now it's set at, I think, 8 inches high. And so we've got our crossbar here that he can utilize it if needed, but the goal is to not use the crossbar. So you can lightly touch it if you want for the first few steps. Let's see how. So we're going to put your left leg up on the step first, and you're going to then just step up with your right leg and then back down with your right leg. So we're going to work that left leg, controlled on the way down, minimal use of hands. Good. Then we'd switch to the opposite leg. So those would be step ups. So you can do that again. Typically, this is again, 2-day-a-week program. 1 day a week, we're going to focus on the step up portion of this exercise. Then the other day a week, we're going to focus on the step down. So let's have you move back just a little bit. We're going to shift this step back just a little bit for us. And now go ahead and get up onto the step itself. And now you're going to do a step down procedure. Good. And we're going to keep with your right leg, focusing on that eccentric lowering function with that left leg and working on that step down. Then we'd switch legs, do the same thing. Excellent. Now, similar to the sit to stands, once the person's progressed to doing a fairly significant step, you can certainly raise the height of the step even further than this if needed, but we can move to resisted step up. So here again, we have our anchor systems down low here, angled up and attached to the lower part of our unloading harness top here, and pulling down and back. So he's going to go ahead and do now step up and against resistance with that. Again, ideally not holding on if possible, while you're doing those resisted step-ups. Very important functional exercise that is be able to get on and off the ground for individuals. So in this case, what we have set up is a progression here. So this is going to be the easiest for the individual. We've got our 2 anchor systems here that are set up and our mobility harness that's going to allow them some assistance of the center of their body when they're doing this, when they're getting down to the ground plus getting back up in the ground. We've got our cross member mounted out in front here that'll give them something to hold on to as they lower themselves down. We can start by just initially go ahead and down to a kneeling position, and you can use the bar if you need to, and get both kneel. There you go. Now we're going to go ahead and just stand up from there. Okay, and work on getting that foot underneath you and pressing up. Good. Let's do the other leg. Let's swap legs. Make sure they can do it with both legs if possible. Great. Now, once we've got that established and done a number of repetitions and they feel comfortable with that, we can progress to going all the way down to the floor or into quadruped. We can do that progression and then get back up from that position. Good. And now let's go all the way down flat and then lowering down to the floor that way. Great. And now go ahead and come on off the floor, all the way up. And then as the patient improves, we would remove the assistance of the anchor system and then also then remove the cross member for support for the upper extremities. So the goal is to get them to be able to go up and down from the floor without any form of assistance. Once we've worked on our floor to stand transfers, at one point we want to stay on the floor to do a little bit of floor activity. The first exercise on the floor, which is important for bed mobility and hip extensor strength, is going to be some type of a bridge or bridge variation. So here, Steve's going to be doing an assisted bridge. So our anchor systems here are helping with the bridge. As they improve, we can reduce the amount of assistance. If a single or bilateral bridge is too easy, even without help. Let's just take these off for a second. We can go to something like a unilateral bridge. So go ahead and hold one leg off the floor and now go ahead and do bridge on just one leg. Good. And if that was too challenging, that progression, we could add some assistance. Let's go back to that other leg. We could add some assistance to that side. So let's go ahead and do a single leg bridge with some assistance to progress. We could do a ball underneath the legs and do a ball bridge, something like that. Any variation on bridging while we're here on the floor. So, while we're still on the floor, we want to do a trunk rotation stretch. So we're going to go ahead and have you swing both knees to one side in hook-like position. You're going to turn your head to the opposite direction, have your arms extended, and just get a nice deep breathing while you're rotating that trunk, holding that position for, again, 15, 30 seconds in each position, doing it several times on each side, working on that trunk rotation. Next exercise is a functional strength exercise we're going to do is calf raises. Again, calf muscles are important for strength and power during the gait cycle and also for balance. So first is just doing bilateral heel raises. So come straight up, try not to bend your knees if possible. There you go. Raise up as far as you can. Good. And only hold on as lightly as possible with the hand grip there on the front. Good. So the progression is once they can get to do bilateral heel raises and get through full range of motion. Now we're going to do some variation on a unilateral heel raise. So in this case, I'm going to have him place his right foot up on the step. The higher the step, the harder it is, the more weight's going to be shifted to the back leg. So now we're going to go ahead and have you do the same thing just with that unilateral, with that left leg, and thinking about putting most of your weight through the left leg and going through full range of motion. Let's now also try putting that left leg a little further back behind you if possible. There you go. So now we're going to get a little nice calf stretch here, but also get in more of a stride stance position, more of that push-off position for gait, and have you work on doing your heel raises in a stride stance position as a nice progression from the two-legged heel raises. The next functional strength exercise we're going to be doing is a hip abduction exercise and also hip extension. So for this, we have the bar here, you can hold on lightly, want good posture here, and we've got our anchor system positioned on the leg here, just a little bit higher than we had in the previous, on this straight part of the cross member here, and we can adjust, again, the resistance level we need to. I think currently right now we're at 5 pounds. So you're going to go ahead and do a hip abduction. Good, keep nice alignment there, perfect. Keep that toe pointed directly forward just like you're doing, great. So we're going to do our 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions with that at the appropriate resistance level. Now we're going to turn and we're going to do hip extension. So now we're going to do straight back. Again, good posture here. You can hold on a little bit there for these and just extend that hip. Perfect. Good. And work on that hip extension. Great. The next strength exercise is going to be some type of an overhead press. We have a couple options here. We're using the anchor resistance systems here. In this case, we have a straight bar that has pivoting ends on both sides. And so, Steve, what you're going to do is go ahead and bring that up to your shoulders there. And good posture here. Ideally, we want to do this in standing. If they can't, we can start in a seated position for this overhead press. This is going to be very important for, again, reaching overhead, lifting things and objects overhead, reaching objects and cabinets. So go ahead and press overhead. You can spread your feet a little wider if you need to. Good. And then bring it back down towards your chest, just right there, and press straight up overhead. Some individuals may be challenged with, if they've got shoulder problems, using this straight bar, depending on the range of motion they have. In that case, we can use individual handles. So we're going to take the straight bar off. There's a handle. And then we can go ahead and bring those up into position there. And good, you can do a straddle stance like that if you want, and then just press straight up overhead. Good. This is going to require a little more stabilization and control, but it's going to give a little more freedom for the shoulders if they need it to accommodate for any restrictions in internal external rotation. Again, they can do more of a scaption position when going into that overhead press. The next strength exercise we're going to do is some form of a postural extensor exercise here. So this is going to be some type of rowing motion. So in this case, we have our anchor system set up about chest high. And Steve, just keep your elbows down a little bit further. Just bring the back straight to your chest there. Good. And we're going to work more of that middle trap. Good. He's in a kind of a straddle or stride stance position. Go ahead and go stride stance. You can it's fine to have your one foot in front of the other while you're doing this for stabilization. Good. So preferably this is done in a standing position to work that core and that balance while they're doing this. Obviously you can do this in a sitting position if somebody can't tolerate a standing position. Depending on the day, what we'll do is vary also from session to session, is vary the position of the anchor system. So some days we'll go up high and get more of a lat pull and increase activation of the lats, or some days we can mount those lower and do more of an upright row and get a little more of an upper trap when we're doing those. So it's okay to vary these exercises. Again, just trying to get that maximum amount of tension we can incur for those 8 to 12 repetitions. So can do it in kneeling positions as well. Next flexibility exercise is going to be a hip flexor stretch while we're again on the floor area here. So Steve, you're going to go down. We have a pad on the ground there to put his knee on. So we're going to place his right knee on that pad. We've got our support bar here so we can give ourselves a little stability, and foot in front, and you're just going to rock forward gently. Keep your trunk. Don't let that back arch too much. There you go. Yep, keep your butt tucked and stretch out. You should feel a nice stretch in those hip flexor area there. So we'll do our two repetitions of 30 seconds to 60 seconds on that, and then switch sides and do the opposite side. The last exercise is a flexibility exercise, one of my favorites here because it stretches kind of the whole body, is going to be a chest stretch as well as a lower extremity stretch, kind of a doorway stretch here position. We have our 2 stability handles set at a height where his arms are about parallel with the ground here. However, sometimes I want these a little higher, sometimes I'll go a little lower to get different heads of the pec when they're doing this stretch, but your goal here is to have them put one foot behind with their heel on the ground so they're feeling a good stretch on the gastroc muscle, and then at the same time getting a good stretch at the chest and then also in the hip flexor as well. So if you can get all 3 of them feeling that at the same time, that's great, and just a good finishing stretch for the whole body.